have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. This is brought to you by Red Voice Media. Remember, you too can support the broadcast by going premium over at redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. $10 a month keeps the show afloat. 2 hours free, one on the tube, one outside of the YouTubans. And Bilderberg 2023. Haven't seen a word. Haven't seen a thing. Last year, kept it secret up until the day of, which would be today if it's actually happening this weekend, which I'm 99.9% sure it is happening this weekend, or I wouldn't be doing this show. I could be getting this one wrong. But Charlie Skelton, who has written for The Guardian, among other publications now, and is really the only person, even last year, in the mainstream that covered this very, very, very important meeting out there. In fact, it's where I really get the terminology that I use all the time, post-truth world. Okay, because they coined it now 5 years ago at Bilderberg. And they mean it. The post-truth world in which we live. And that post-truth world, by the way, was so bizarrely on display last night at this town hall meeting. Now, before I get into Bilderberg and even the precedents of, I would say, whoever is there again this year is somebody to watch. I guess that's a good place to start this. So if you go to even the Wikipedia page on last year's attendance, who did I tell you that you needed to keep an eye on? Well, it was Kristen Cinema. Oh, did we go too far with that? Let's just go to the Christ. Oh, come on. She's there, I promise you. Let's just type in cinema. Because that I can actually spell. There it is. Oh, it's Kirsten. That's why. So, cinema all of a sudden breaks apart from the Democratic Party, who, by the way, it's cartoon level. Like, the moderator they had yesterday, I don't even know who she is. This isn't going to make her career. It was really embarrassing. She was a little Leslie Stahl. She's basically Leslie from 60 Minutes for about 60 Minutes. And I would have thought that they were going to stack the audience with lefties, TDS people. They cheered Donald Trump the whole time. The whole time. And they laughed at her. In fact, to show you what a slaughter job this was, and look, I'm going to be honest with you. For what was asked, I agreed with 95, maybe 99% of what Trump said yesterday. It was hard not to agree. His stance on the war in Ukraine was brilliant. And they kept trying to bully him into saying, okay, what CNN says. Like, CNN talking points, election denial. You're going to stop that, right? Oh, let's see. I got a little texty. Oh, wow. Nice. Nice. That's great news. Awesome. Awesome news. Very happy about that. So that's kind of breaking right there. Let's break some news here. Whenever I do this sort of thing, I get in touch with the people who I know have been covering Bilderberg for a very long time. Okay? And one of those people would be Rob Dew of InfoWars. And apparently you're going to get some InfoWars on-the-ground coverage, and they believe it is in Lisbon, Portugal this weekend as well. So that's pretty awesome. Yep. So he's got hotels leading up. That's awesome news. Great stuff. And I'm not sure if that means they're going. I hope they are going. And it wasn't just like to figure it out. Oh, they can't make it this year. So the breaking news that InfoWars will not be on the scene. Damn. That sucks. That sucks. We need more people covering that stuff, obviously. Hotel is in the first paragraph. Yeah, Skelton is there. Oh, sorry, guys. We're doing it live. Thumbs it up. Sub and share. All right. So, back to the slaughter job. It's pretty incredible. I'm not going to lie. Are you kidding me? I'm going to have to do this the other way, aren't I? So, let's open the image in a new tab. There it is. CNN should be ashamed of themselves. They have lost total control of this town hall to again be manipulated into platforming. See, you're not allowed to have free speech. You're not allowed to have a platform. Election disinformation, defenses of January 6th, and a public attack on a sexual abuse victim. The audience is cheering him on and laughing at the host. Got that right. Yeah, I mean, cheering him on from start to finish. From start to finish. And the way they framed it is crazy. Hey, Dew, I'd love to have this conversation, but I'm literally live on air for the next 2 hours. Yes. But feel free to call me after 10 a.m. Central. I'd love to talk to you. All right?
Have a good one, brother.
I love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
So there you go. That's how we do's it. Right there. We do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And this thing was live. Like, again, I was shocked that they stacked this audience in New Hampshire. And it shows you real America, by the way. New Hampshire, yeah, it's the live free or die state, but it's in the northeastern region. It is really how the vast majority of people feel. I mean, and it was on display last night. First of all, they laughed at the sexual abuse stuff. And there's a reason. The story is pretty unbelievable if you think about it. And Donnie T, to his credit, went through the whole thing. Everything he talked about, and that's probably going to be the main clip that I play. We're going to play probably the opening so you get an idea of how this woman framed the whole thing. Little Leslie. Okay? Little Leslie frames this thing crazy. Okay? And Donnie T still mops. Applauded. We got to be real about that. We also have to be real on the fact that Donnie T stacked Bilderberg. In 2017, I attended at Chantilly. Had a bunch of people there. Teal in particular, his technology advisor, always there. Under a board member role. Really supervising the whole thing. Again, cartoon level. But Trump had 5 people there that year. McMasters, Liddell amongst them. I'm obviously leaving at least 2 people out. Pompeo and Kush in 2020 were there. Pompeo was actually escorted by C-SPAN cameras to the boat where Bilderberg wanted to boat that year. They wanted to go to a castle. I mean, again, cartoon level stuff. The real rulers of the world right there. They wanted to get on a boat. Pompeo. And knives out Pompeo. Pompeo, by the way, not running for president. Decided to back up. Probably realized, he pulled like a Skeletor, right? Like people don't think he's a good guy. And he was one of those guys pumping the propaganda that somehow Donnie T was going to be able to save the day and they were going to expose election fraud. No, we're still in a narrative. You should see how angry, and you will see, because we're also going to play this, how angry Jake Tapper is at every response Trump gave. But he mopped. Hey, you can't, again, even AOC had to admit, he mopped. He destroyed. You would have thought he would have had a hostile audience. They would have tried to make it a hostile audience. Here's the thing. I guess CNN thought, well, if we put a bunch of Democratic operatives up there, the people that are really just promoting the CNN narrative that really middle America is not listening to. We're talking about 20% and less. It's not half and half. And that's the scary thing is when you hear Dementia Joe, Zombie J, start talking about ultra MAGA Republicans. Every single thing Donnie T said there was reasonable. And the only thing that I would say was kind of over the top and unreasonable, 24 hours. 24 hours. We're going to find a way out of this conflict. No matter what, Ukraine, Russia, it's not going to be in 24 hours. I do think he could probably get it done in a week. And why do I think it's going to take less or more time than 24 hours? I think he could come to some general agreements, but there will obviously be pushback, probably from Zelensky. Okay? I would assume that Russia's going to want some guarantees too, especially regarding NATO. They don't want Donnie T back in. Because if he does come back in, he is coming back with a vengeance. The question is he actually going to stand up against these guys? Is he not going to put a cabinet full of deep state dipshiz all up in there? Okay? But they had to acknowledge, number one, he's the front runner. Everything they said he had an answer for. He's like, my polls went up after I just got convicted of sexual abuse. He didn't outright say that he would pardon all January 6th defendants, but he said that very early on, that's one of the first things he would start to do, a large majority of them. And when asked about the Proud Boys in particular, and by the way, unfortunately, that is their best hope. I told everybody they were going to be convicted. And if you don't think the judge is going to sentence them to max or close to max of every charge, you haven't been paying attention. So, the appeals process takes forever, and Donnie T said it best last night. You can't get a fair trial in Washington, D.C. Okay, Donnie T, that's where they want to bring Assange. That's where you failed to stop the illegal charges and extradition against him. But they don't even want to give Assange a real court. They want to have a show trial via military tribunal style on Mr. Espionage. What? For telling the truth. For telling the truth. And in particular, the document stuff is so over the top. It doesn't say that, Mr. President. She kept telling, again, Leslie Stahl style, and he would catch her. So, for instance, when they talk about Pence, and this is a key moment. This is when you know really Donnie T's got a captive audience. The vast majority of the people, if not, I would say in that audience, you're talking at least 70, 80% who think the 2020 election were stolen. Period. Now, am I allowed to say that on YouTube just by observation that they felt that way? And they talk about Pence basically having the ability to reject the outcome and have it go back to the states, okay? And start auditing the votes. This is in the Constitution. It's absolutely there. It's there on purpose because corrupt elections have happened through human history forever. Forever. Of course, and she says, no, I've read it. It doesn't say that. And then she starts talking about how they had to fortify the law more. He's like, no, they used talking points and manipulation, and then they had to what? go and stop that from happening next time and act like it didn't exist. Magic. David Blaine style. And with that David Blaine style, a word from our sponsor.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? This little-known order implemented the digital dollar, the most sinister plan to control your spending. And it gets worse. In November, the federal government and banks began a test program to roll out the digital dollar. With this, privacy for all Americans will be lost forever. Imagine, the government can now track all of your spending. The government can tell you what you can and can't buy. The government could confiscate your cash. When digital currency was rolled out in China, Bloomberg wrote, quote, "This will lead to control like no other," end quote. The EU has announced that they are next, but it is already happening in America, which makes this wealth protection guide that American Alternative Assets just put out even more urgent. Project Hamilton, as this secret order is being called, might be the scariest order to happen to privacy and freedom in America since its founding, which makes this wealth protection guide so incredibly valuable right now. Move your money out of cash and into something that doesn't infringe on your privacy. You see, there is one legal IRS-proof loophole that could protect your IRA, 401k, and pension savings with gold and silver. And this free guide tells you exactly which steps you need to take right now to move part of your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax consequences. As this program rolls out, the sky's the limit for the level of government control that could be enforced on your money. Protect your savings and your privacy. But in the devastation ahead, American Alternative Assets is offering you something rare, a chance to protect your wealth and possibly even grow it.
All right, folks. I want to do it like this. I want to show the clips from the CNN town hall, especially in regards to the intro, especially in regards to the classifications and the documents, because Trump's also right that it's not like he just ran off with documents. And the NARA, which is the National Archives, I personally have an experience with the National Archives and presidential records and a president's home that I will never forget in my life, okay? One of the reasons is that I do really love history. I think history is fascinating. I was really lucky that being in upstate New York, a lot of history happened in that northeastern region, New York and Pennsylvania in particular. And we would go on field trips, especially my AP class, to really interesting spots. And one of those places, was the Franklin Roosevelt home. And one of the things that specifically stays in my mind, now, one of the reasons I also vividly remember this experience now from the time I was a junior is my father had died the day before. And, I probably shouldn't have gone to school, but I really didn't want to miss this. And what was I going to do? Just, sit and, mourn and feel sorry for myself all day. I figured I might as well go to this. So I remember just like a heightened sense of that day, right? It was like things were sinking in. And we get to a point where the person who's touring us, and notice the historical documents, First Presidential Library, and he talked about the process of declassification and how they had the archives there, and specifically talked about how he thought it was a good thing that the government could withhold records and not tell us everything. I think that's fair. Even as prodding and putting the idea into, I'm 16 years old at the time. There are just certain things that you're always going to be treated like a child for, and that's okay. Look at the pretty estate. Look at how great Roosevelt was. And one of the other places that I specifically remember visiting, and maybe this is one of the ones, again, I think about a lot, because you look at the aristocracy, you look at the predator class, the robber baron class, the big names, the families, the nepotism. And one of those is obviously the Vanderbilts. And I went to the Vanderbilt mansion as well, a masterpiece in design. In fact, one of the other things I was going to show from an adult is a trip I took with Rob Dew as an adult for Alex Jones, where we were out in California doing stuff on geoengineering and solar radiation management and what some people call chemtrails, but I would call prolonged jet contrails. We went to the Hearst Castle, which is a sprawling, like they have 3 different tours, sprawling estate. Take a bus up to, had its own farm. It's pretty wild. Like, when I say farm, there's like wild animals that are kind of fenced in. Vanderbilt also is interesting to me because my documentary films, of which I actually worked with Rob on some of them, I would get archives from the Vanderbilt Television Archive. Still a great tool. I wish they had an online archive. A lot of places do have online archives, but what's really great about them is they've archived all this news and news footage from every single day, every single major media network. I think back into at least the 60s, possibly the 50s, where I got a lot of stuff. So I know that Trump is telling the truth when he says, look, this wasn't a big deal. And then he brings up the Biden documents in stark contrast, which I believe may be a backdoor into getting him not to run in 2024 and putting somebody else in there, just having him step down, or if he doesn't want to step down and not run, or they don't want him there, they always have his classified documents in the bag. They can talk about it being a nonpartisan issue. There's a stark contrast. His documents, okay, weren't taken as president. I don't even care about the secure locations and who had them, and they were in his garage with the Corvette. He wasn't the president. He took him as the vice president. It's completely illegal. And that's the big stark contrast. But again, they raid Trump's home. They put out that picture, the famous we got him. We got him again. And it's just all Johnny mother trucking nonsense. So let me cue this up in the background, and we're gonna play this. Don't worry, folks. We're gonna play sections of my films, Shade the Motion Picture, and Invisible Empire: A New World Order Defined, so we can really talk about Bilderberg and the true power structure. But I truly do believe that the Bilderberg group, okay, they don't want Donnie T, because he's not ESG, he's not SDG. ESG, SDG, is that the new rap jam, Jason? No, he's not. Okay, on this equity sustainability train. We've played it. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Does he have huge problems? Yes, he does. Do I wish somebody would have put him on the spot of his failure of Assange? Yes. 100%. But let's cue this up as I'm ranting and raving here, because I want people to see how they did this. It's just so wild, man. Here we go.
Welcome to New Hampshire, the first GOP primary state. We're live here at St. Anselm College for CNN's Town Hall with former President Donald Trump. I'm Caitlin Collins. Tonight, President Trump is here as he embarks on a campaign unlike any other in the history of U.S. presidential elections. He's the first former president in more than a century to seek a return to the White House, and he is currently leading the Republican field while also facing multiple criminal investigations and an indictment. Just yesterday, he was found liable for sexual abuse and defamation. No questions are off the table, and we agreed to no conditions. We're here to get voters the answers that they deserve. Our audience is made up of Republicans and undeclared voters who plan to take part in New Hampshire's Republican primary. They'll get the chance to question the former president directly. These voters and the issues that they care about the most will help decide if former President Trump will get a second chance to take on President Joe Biden. Please welcome the frontrunner for the Republican nomination, former President Donald Trump.
Standing ovation. Now, frames it up like he's a criminal and a liar and goes right into you're a criminal and a liar from the outset. I want to point that out. 100%. And they get a standing ovation. I get it. It's Republicans and independents. But come on. Give me a break. So I want to fast forward here. I want to just get to the documents one, because the documents exchange is kind of incredible. Okay. At one point, he calls her a very nasty person, and only Donnie T could get away with stuff like this. When it gets to the end of the debate, maybe within a 10-minute period, not even, of him calling a very nasty person, he shakes her hand again at the end and says, "You did a good job," or "Good job, good job." Like, if Trump wasn't a politician before he ran and won the presidency, he certainly is today. But again, this exchange is pure gold.
Honorable
Pence,
guy.
you referenced
but you know who
Biden.
took him more than anybody is Joe Biden. He has 1,800 boxes,
That's
and
not
nobody
accurate,
even
Mr.
knows where
President,
they
and you know
are.
that.
1,800, and nobody talks about him.
Mr. President,
And they
that's not accurate.
put a rough guy on us.
Again, she's little Leslie Stahl. No, that's not accurate. That's not true. She's going to tell her how Nara is bipartisan, always jibbing and jabbing. There is no evidence. No.
And they, in the
I think it's
meantime, they have
important, Mr.
nobody.
President, to actually set the record straight here. They took documents, including President or Vice President Pence. When they realized they had documents, they turned them back over. The difference is that you waited to turn yours over, and it was a year and a half effort that included.
Excuse me. Can I talk? Excuse me.
A subpoena with those documents. One question about what happened when you had those documents.
It included a raid on my house. That's what it included.
But
they
you
didn't
had
raid.
you'd gotten a
they didn't
subpoena
raid
and they had not
Biden's
been
house.
turned over yet.
They didn't raid Biden's house. You know what happened? They put him in the house. That's the one with the Corvette where the documents were laying all over the floor. That was fine. And you know who happens to be at Mar-a-Lago? Secret Service, and they're phenomenal. I have Secret Service. He didn't have Secret Service. The other thing, the vice president cannot declassify. He didn't have the right to declassify.
100%.
He has documents from when he was a senator. And even Democrat senators say, I can't believe it. No, I went by the Presidential Records Act.
That's not
and
what
we
the
were
Presidential
negotiating
Records
with
Act
NARA.
says.
That's not what it says. You're a liar. Wah. Yes, it is what it says. The presidential, as soon as the president wants to declassify something, okay, whether you like it or not, boom, done. Dunzio. It happens. Just like that, Jack. No. She knows better. She's in a white pantsuit. She works for CNN.
That's not what it says,
And
Mr.
NARA
President.
has red flagged a thing called the Constitution.
Look at the little Joker lip face thing. You notice that? Like, even when she's mad, she got like the little Joker lip, like the Jack Nicholson Joker.
Of the United States and the Bill of Rights, because they consider them
Mr.
dangerous
President, that's
documents.
not what it
Those
says,
are
and
the
I
people
should
we're
know.
dealing
And
with.
I should note that there is a special counsel investigating your document situation, also President Biden's document situation. When it comes to your documents, did you ever show those classified documents to anyone?
Not really. I would have the right to. By the way, they were
What do you mean, not
declassified
really?
after.
They were declassified after I took them because I was the president. What don't you understand? Again, this is talking point drama. This is their narrative, and every single question is, will you bend the knee to our narrative? Everyone, every question. Bend the knee to our narrative. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Not that I can think of. Let me just tell you, I have the absolute right to do whatever I want with them. I have the right. I was negotiating with NARA. Do you know what NARA is?
The National Archives.
Extremely
negotiate
left group
with
of
them.
people. Extremely left. And I was negotiating with
They're
them.
not
All of a
left,
sudden,
They're not left. They're bipartisan. Everything's bipartisan. That's another, unfortunately, again, I hate even getting into right-left paradigm, but that's a Democratic talking point. Anything they're pushing is bipartisan. It's a bipartisan bill. Bullshit. Again, take a look at that crowd. They think this guy's a superstar. It's reality. Okay? We have to acknowledge what's right in front of our face. Now, we're going to come back to this after a word from our sponsor. Remember, second hour over at the RVM Rumble, rvmrumble.com.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Once they're gone, they're gone. Use that promo code RVM. I'm just kind of looking through some of the comments in there. I saw one about dementia gel and how, like, at least Trump didn't stutter or stammer or have a senior moment once. And he's looking a lot older than he was before, period. He looks up to the game. I just want to point that out and say that that's real. We should also acknowledge that. And then I was reading in the comments about a mentorship. I'm not quite sure. Look, some of the people that Trump has done business with, obviously Epstein's unsavory, Roy Cohn especially. Whitney Webb loves to point out like how corrupt Roy Cohn was, and I've watched several documentaries on the guy. Pretty wild story. As far as a Mason, I see that he's a 33rd degree Mason. I don't know that he's a Mason at all. Is he? Maybe there's some evidence of that. I know he went to West Point. That doesn't mean I'm a Mason. I'm just if that's someone needs to send me that whole he's a 33rd degree Mason. I don't know if that really changes my opinion on Donnie T. It's not like my opinion is super high. But once again, manhandling this woman, telling the truth about the documents. What you won't hear from her is his failure to declassify the JFK documents twice that he promised. Like, that's a real question. That's what he should have. They should have taken those documents home. Boy, that would have really pissed him right off. Then he would be facing criminal charges. They'd find a way via some Espionage Act nonsense, but I think they're already trying to find a way. Again, they're trying to frame him as a criminal in this narrative. Let's go back to Donnie T.
They raided my house. They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden. They didn't raid Obama.
But Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like
Joe
you
Biden
did. And so
took
that's the question.
1,850 boxes.
But that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating.
I mean, it's a laugh out loud cartoon moment. That's why I asked the question. I want you to answer. That's why I asked the question. I mean, he's standing 3 feet from her. And just, laying her out. And the crowd knows it. The crowd knows who this person is. During the interview, he talks about them having an agenda. If they really, first of all, this is the biggest thing for ratings they've done in years at this point. For real. Like probably at least 2-3 years. And it's the biggest ratings get they're going to have. But it could have been even bigger if they streamed it on YouTube, which they did not do. They did not do that. I want you to think about that. YouTube is where the audience is. This is easily a video that if they put on YouTube in full gets 10 to 100 million views. They didn't do it. Why? Because they want to put their own clips out there with their own commentary cut up, okay, and try to spin their narrative. Their narrative. I'm going to let him finish up, and then I want to go to the very end of it where they wrap it up. He actually shakes her hand after telling her she's a nasty person. And then Jake Tapper The way he sounds off to Anderson Cooper shows you how detached from reality these people truly are. Again, Bilderberg 2023 looks like this weekend, Lisbon, Portugal. Let's get back to Donnie T.
And we were talking to NARA, that's Washington, to bring whatever they want. They can have whatever they want. When we left Washington, we had the boxes lined up on the sidewalk outside for everybody. People are taking pictures of them. Everybody knew we were taking those boxes. And the GSA, the government service, the GSA was the one taking them. They brought them down to Mar-a-Lago. We were negotiating with NARA. All of a sudden, they raid our house. When Biden had his documents, he won't give back the 1,850 boxes. And you're going to find some real gems in there.
But it was
so
Biden who alerted them that he had the
documents.
The National Archives reached out to you to get your documents back. Why did you not turn them over when you got a subpoena
because we
asking
were
for you to turn
negotiating
them
with
over?
them. We were negotiating with them as per the Presidential Records Act. We were negotiating with NARA.
That's not what
Very
the Presidential
nice
Records
people,
Act says. I've
but they
seen
got to
it.
love our Constitution a little bit more, and they shouldn't red flag it, by the way. Very nice people. We were negotiating with NARA, and that's what the Presidential Records Act says, because Richard Nixon, surprisingly, had problems, and he had a lot of problems dealing with NARA, and they ended up passing legislation called the Presidential Records Act, just for this kind of a thing. We were dealing with them. We were talking. Excuse me. Wait a minute. Wait. We were talking to them. We would have done it, but all of a sudden they raided the house. Now, why hasn't the FBI raided Biden?
But I just explained.
I just explained to you why they hadn't raided Biden. Again, it's a joke. His own Justice Department had the Biden laptop and did nothing. His own Justice Department had the Wiener laptop after the fact and did nothing. Nothing. That's what he should be pointing out. That's what he's not good at. All right? When they stop him and try to debunk him, he has to be Johnny on the spot with the part in the Presidential Records Act that allows him to have the documents. All right? The subsection and the whole nine. Just like when she says there's no election fraud, he's got to talk about more than just the on videotape and the audit system. He did talk about voter registration, and he talked about paper ballots, and he talked about the corruption of the machines very briefly. Needs to focus on that much more. Should be focusing on the Baker-Carter commission that most people pointed to the mail-in ballots. He briefly talked about that too. The machines are the most dangerous part. So let me just get to the very end here. Because this guy acted like he was stumping for Disney. And after that, that's the end of it right here. I mean, people are, hey, I'm Donnie T over here. Okay, so let's let her wrap it up. Little Leslie. And then watch Donnie T shake her hand after telling her she's a nasty person. Again, within less than 10 minutes of that.
Here tonight, this is an important conversation with voters to hear and to have. Thank you to our audience and to our hosts, St. Anselm College. CNN's coverage continues with Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper.
The Trump point. Now keep watching. Again, standing on. Good job. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. So look, say what you will about the guy. He's become a politician. He's incredibly popular. They have a narrative. I'm gonna play you that narrative right now, but like right here, he's having a blast up there. But let's hear what Tapper has to say.
College in Manchester, New Hampshire. Tonight's CNN Town Hall, moderated by Caitlin Collins, the first of the 2024 presidential campaign, is now in the books. Good evening from New York.
From Washington, it was an interesting night. Mr. Trump's first lie was told just seconds into the night with his false familiar claim that the 2020 election was, quote, a rigged election. And the falsehoods kept coming fast and furious about the January 6th insurrection, about the threat to Vice President Pence, about Pence's ability to overturn the election, about COVID, about the economy, and more. He called a black law enforcement officer a thug.
He rightly called out the guy that assassinated Ashley Babbitt and had nothing to do with race. But boy, we'll bring race into it. We found a way. He condemned a murderer. A murderer who got off and was celebrated by the media. Gross. Gross. And look, Pence was not... Nobody in that building was under physical threat. Let's stop the imagination land, okay? Period. Let's stop with the imagination land.
He said people here in Washington, D.C. at Chinatown don't speak English. He attacked Caitlyn as a nasty woman because she was trying to get him.
Again, they're trying to make it about race. He was talking about the movement of the Biden documents, some of which are supposedly in Chinatown. Now, anybody who has been to urban areas in major cities, be it New York or Los Angeles or Chicago, there are small sects of that population, generally, that go to that area to be amongst other immigrants that speak the same language. Some of them acclimate over the years and speak the language quickly. Some of them don't. Some of them don't speak that language. But again, Jake Tapper's here to fact check. He's the tapster.
To answer a question, perhaps most chillingly, the day after a 9-person jury of his peers in New York found him liable for sexual battery and defamation and ordered him to pay writer E. Jean Carroll $5 million, he made fun of her account of her sexual assault. And many in the audience laughed.
Because the narrative of it is absolutely absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And look, Trump was funny when he was describing it. What do you want me to say? Like, as per her account, it does seem extremely ludicrous. All right? So let's go from the tapster here to Van Jones. And the next thing, Van Jones talks about throwing Ukraine under the bus. He did the right thing. He refused to call Putin a war criminal. He said, look, there can be no winners here. Too many people have already died. Let's stop the death. How about that? How about that? We are in agreement on that, Donnie T.
I mean, unreformed, unrepentant, unimproved, rerun Donald. And if you're watching this, trying to figure out what's going to happen to America, you should be very worried. He threw Ukraine under the bus. Just threw him under the bus. So a vote for this guy is a vote for a Putin victory. Period, point blank. You can't get away from that. He would not say that he wouldn't pardon people who've been convicted in U.S. courts of seditious conspiracy, a criminal thug group called the Proud Boys. That's an easy no. I'm not going to pardon traitors. He wouldn't even give you that.
I would pardon traitors. I mean, this narrative, Van Jones knows what he's doing right here. But he's the $10 million Bezos man. They pay him the big bucks. David Axelrod up there. Old Coops. Old Coops-a-doo. The Coops loves the Vanderbilts. That's his bloodline, baby.
Called the black police officer a thug. He talked about Chinatown. All the dog whistles are there. This is rerun Donald. No improvement, no reflection, no repentance, no remorse. And that's what you're voting for if you vote for this.
Apparently, it's incredibly popular. Just want to point that out. It's incredibly popular. The guy's getting standing O's and doing a victory lap after the CNN town hall where he destroys little Leslie. Calls her a nasty person to a standing O. I mean, come on. You have to acknowledge those things. So when we get into the last segment of the YouTube hour, the censored hour to some extent, we're going to go uncensored. Okay, if you are a premium subscriber, I want to say thank you. I think that this weekend's premiums obviously are going to be Bilderberg heavy. Okay, I'm not announcing who I've got yet, but looks like they're going to be Bilderberg heavy, and then we're going to be running small bits and pieces throughout the week. But if you want the full interview, the 30 to 60 minute interview, please consider supporting the broadcast. Tell them Jason Bermas sent you. redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Sign up there. That's how you're getting two extra interviews every single week. I love RVM. A lot of people complain about the commercial breaks. I don't mind a quick commercial break, and we got to support the broadcast somehow. Second hour, going over to the Red Voice Media Rumble. Look for the big RVM live stream, and that's how you're going to find that second hour. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Folks, we have a huge problem on our hands. A banking crisis is spiraling, and it's all thanks to the current administration's reckless spending, sky-high inflation, and massive interest rate hikes. Now, these banks are suffering, and guess what? They can legally seize your savings without notice to bail themselves out. That's right. Thanks to a sneaky law passed back in 2008, it's now legal for banks to take your hard-earned money, including your retirement savings, to save themselves. Now, this could leave your retirement accounts decimated, and you paying the price for their disastrous policies. Take action now before it's too late. Now, this guide will show you how to defend your money and keep your retirement savings safe from the banking crisis and the current administration's financial fiasco. This simple and 100% legal strategy may help you protect your retirement against higher taxes, soaring inflation, and a volatile economy. So don't let your golden years be ruined by someone else's mistakes. To secure your free wealth protection guide and safeguard what's rightfully yours, don't wait. The time to act is now.
All right, let's shift gears here in this final segment in the first hour. Back to Bilderberg. There was one article I could find that had Bilderberg in it. Henry Kissinger says he wants to call attention to the dangers of AI the same way he did for nuclear weapons, but warns it's a totally new problem. And this is just from a few days ago. It's Fortune. I couldn't read it. Why? Because it's under a paywall. But how did I find it then? And by the way, you see this. He's discussing the 2016 Bilderberg meeting and artificial intelligence and talks about how it was a main focus back then. So here's Fortune acknowledging the power structure, acknowledging the power of the Bilderberg group, something that I really do believe that we obviously need to do. I'm going to play this segment here from the beginning of my film, Shade the Motion Picture. Just the first segment. I want to say all the documentary films are free and playlists all over. Thumbs them up, subscribe, share them in email chains, especially with this weekend being Bilderberg. I think that it's imperative for people to see Shade the Motion Picture and Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, for these reasons. So with that being said, let's get to this Shade section right here. Okay, boom. Okay, and we are live.
The one thing I will say that the past 50 years has given me, I would say that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does. There's a far higher, bigger picture.
All right, we're at the airport. We're going to be getting ready to go through TSA. Well, we're at TSA right now, and just as I figured, they're searching my bag as we speak. Welcome to America. We just drove through the Westfields Marriott. We made the loop right by the hotel entrance. Actually went onto the property.
This is the hotel where it's all going to occur. The globalists are incredibly dangerous. The status quo means giving into eugenics, death, and world government.
And the only way you can get back our freedoms is by fighting the oppressors. And the oppressors are here.
You are scum! You are scum! You are scum! You are scum! It's a jar! It's a jar! We know it's a jar!
one thing that I'm here to do is to provide a service that the mainstream media is not doing.
A lot of the press is owned by some of the attendees inside of here.
Instead of just harping on them and begging them to cover this, screw it. We are the new mainstream media.
The people inside basically set the agendas and tell them not to report on it.
We are here. We are documenting everything live. Uncut, unedited.
All right, we're at the Bilderberg conference, and the police are getting kind of weird.
I just see that. All kinds illegal.
This is what we're reduced to. I mean, it's just trying to catch glimpses of people in, hiding behind the Financial Times in the back of their limo, which is, it's not great.
And they will be defeated, and they know it, and they're starting to run scared, and they should be, because information is power. And the truth is setting us free.
In 1954, a group of industrialists, political elites, and even royalty set out to form an organization that would essentially pull the strings of society from behind the scenes.
The Bilderberg Group is a group of world leaders, CEOs, heads of banking institutions that meet every year and decide what's going to happen throughout that next year.
The media has largely ignored this organization over the past 50+ years. And even today, when it is mentioned, it's mentioned in a manner in which you shouldn't be asking about it.
Not everyone in the media, however, is in on it. It's kind of this sense that they get of what not to talk about, what may be considered to be taboo.
Well, I'm here in my capacity as a journalist, covering it for this event for the London Guardian.
I remember you were sent down here, like 2 or 3 years ago to Bilderberg for the first time?
2009. And, so I thought it'd be funny, I came, I said, no one covers this, maybe I should go along and maybe it'll be a laugh. And it turned into an absolute nightmare. I got chased around Athens and ended up wrestling a secret policeman in a subway station. It was mental.
Because the mainstream media in the United States has never covered it until now. London Guardian for 4 years overseas really started breaking it. That was a big deal when you guys were covering 4 years ago, Charlie Skelton. At first, a little bit laughingly, then he got arrested, and well, this is really real. And media said it didn't exist to him. So it's the fact that they play that Jedi mind trick. This doesn't exist. These limousines. No, they knew one.
The mainstream media is now acknowledging that these world leaders are meeting, except for there's nothing to worry about. They're not doing anything sinister, even though they meet behind closed doors.
Instead of being humble and saying, I don't know the whole truth, we never do as journalists, all we could do is try to ask questions and do our research. And that's very important for journalists to do. To act like you know everything and to act like what you know is the most important thing is pretty much the attitude of the mainstream media.
They kind of just sit there and repeat what it is being shown on the television screen rather than thinking for themselves.
We've been programmed to believe certain things. We've been programmed to, when we hear certain buzzwords, we immediately close ourselves off to that information.
The guys in here who are deciding on foreign policy, these are the people who are setting the price of gold, setting the price of oil, deciding who's going to be presidents, who's going to be prime ministers. They operate in the shadows. They do not want to be seen. They don't want anybody to know that they are here.
One of the Bilderberg members, attendees, who's one of the big EU regulators over this, publicly has called for internet ID so they can start the taxing of that and the tracking. That's what China uses.
We just drove up to the security now in press. We showed our press cards and said, can you show us to the press centre? And no, there's no press centre. Can we speak to someone who could represent the organisation to the press? No, that's not available. They're resolutely failing to nurture any kind of proper and grown-up relationship with the press, which is just
kind of lame. The people of the planet are waking up and getting past the puppets. This is about saying, hey, the puppets in D.C. are just front men.
The powerful elite hide behind the curtain of government. They hide behind the wall, the facade of government. And really, they're just a tiny dot that control the masses.
These are the shadow masters. These are the people that actually decide who runs and wins in office.
Tony Blair, 2 years before he came from nowhere to become prime minister, was here and basically certified. Bill Clinton, little-known governor, comes here in 91, boom, fast-tracked it. They like it. It's on. Countless others, John Edwards, Gordon Brown, John Kerry. Obama was here 4 years ago. We talked to our sources inside, did a song.
We're big on talking about how we can elect our leaders. Yes, we can elect our leader, but you can't select your leaders. You don't select anyone. Your masters who own you will select who will run. That's all they wanted to know. Just which one do you like best? It doesn't mean much of anything.
The rule of the few, oligarchy, is on the whole the most common in human history.
Through a long legacy, incrementalism, and perseverance, the globalists have managed to sprinkle their people in, essentially salt their people into various governmental positions worldwide.
They plan wars, they plan money inflation, they plan deflation.
My estimate is there are about 30 million Americans who really need a job and who can't get one. So, depression level. This is a depression. This is as bad or worse than the depression of the 1930s.
They plan collapses. They plan takeovers of rogue nations.
They want an organized, controlled system where humans are manipulated. They want the resources controlled by tiny oligarchical elite.
You know, Superman in one of the movies said he stands for the American way, freedom, liberty, and justice for all. Well, I like what Dick Gregory said. You're no longer free or brave. You might want to, for the first time in your life, start thinking seriously about where you're going and where your country is going and what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren when you wake up one day to discover your freedoms are gone, your country is gone, your protections that were guaranteed to you as a citizen are gone.
Well, it's outrageous. Our government's been taken over by the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about in his farewell address in '61. Our money's being taken. They're announcing 30,000 drones, armed drones, to surveil us. The CIA says they're listening to our phones now without warrants.
The real leaders are going to talk now. Mommy and Daddy are going to talk now. And when they come out of the meeting, it's always wars, economic despair, and eugenics. I haven't seen anything good come out of the Bilderberg Group.
As the global elite are escalating their agendas, we have to equally bring up our efforts to document these events, cover these events, and make sure that the Bilderberg Group gets exposed for what they're doing inside there.
Before I speak right here about the importance of alternative media, how spot on was Jordan Maxwell, rest in peace, in that clip? Seriously, think about it. How spot on was he in that clip? How spot on was the young lady right before me? How about Dan Dix? How about Luke Rudowski really becoming, a juggernaut in alternative media over the last decade plus? This film, again, put out April 15th, 2013. It's free out there. I think you can still get Shade, the DVD, from Shepard if you're looking for a hard copy. When we come back on the other side of the hour, the uncensored part over on RVMRumble.com, or just go to Rumble, look for RVM, look for the big live stream. We're going to play some more of this, and then we're also going to play a subsection of Invisible Empire and New World Order Defined, where I talk about some of the other organizations, whether it was the League of Nations in the beginning, into the CFR, into the Trilateral Commission where we start, and then into the Bilderberg group, where we get into even more of its origin story. That's another big picture film. So with that being said, one last word from our sponsor.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IPVanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IPVanish.
RVN or RVMVPN.com. All right, YouTube, you know the drill. We'll see you over at the uncensored portion on Rumble. Remember, if you want to support the broadcast, it is redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. By the way, I forgot about this. 2 other tips that they didn't come up on my phone yesterday. Hempcar and Jenny, thank you so much for tipping over at the Rockfin. Wanted to get that out there as well. Okay,